The Borrower is a 1991 horror comedy from Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer director John McNaughton and features some gross-out effects and an original, if not gonzo, premise. A murderous alien is de-evolved into a human and banished to Earth as punishment for his crimes. Once on Earth, his head explodes, and he begins killing and stealing people's heads. A female detective, Commandos Ray Dong Chong, and her partner begin a wild investigation into the decapitation murders plaguing the city. Eventually, the borrower steals the head of a sex crime criminal, who also happens to be the detective's enemy. The Borrower is a gonzo, over-the-top alien horror comedy that features a fun cast and some memorable moments. Like the scene where the borrower steals the head off a dog and becomes a weird dog monster. The film's trailer compares it to Reanimator, and that's an accurate comparison because it straddles that same horror comedy tone. The film was shot and completed in 1988 but sat on the shelf until 1991, after the film's original distributor went under. For some reason, knowing this was shot in 1988 made a lot more sense to me. Ray Dong Chong stars as the female detective, and I found her to be likable and a decent lead. Some reviewers remark she's a bad actress, but I've always found her to be fine. And she's fine here in my opinion. I think her subplot involving a sex criminal is a bit misplaced and doesn't really fall into place until the film's last 15 minutes. Tom Towles is great as the redneck who becomes the borrower's first victim. He is an underrated character actor and is amusing as hell. The rest of the cast does a capable job and there's a few interesting cameos. The Borrower seems like an odd follow-up for McNaughton after Henry, but he does seem to be having fun with the over-the-top gore and ridiculous premise. The special effects by Kevin Yeager are solid and there are some gory moments. The biggest negative about the flick is that it feels episodic, like a bunch of scenes just cut together. The alien just wanders around the grimy city and interacts with a bunch of odd characters. He never has any motivation beyond changing out heads and he has no master plan, which makes the whole proceedings feel a bit redundant. The film's finale is rushed, and it honestly feels like they ran out of money or time because it just ends on a weak cliffhanger. Now, I may be making this sound like The Borrower isn't entertaining, but this is one fun, cheesy, and engrossing flick. It's just not narratively the most cohesive movie. I had a lot of fun with this one, despite feeling like it ripped off the 1987 film The Hidden a little bit. The soundtrack is awesome, and the comedy is pretty good as well. If you go in expecting a weird horror comedy, you're going to have fun with it. Just don't expect a lot of outright horror or terror.